Hi, episode 247 of the club, and what I'm talking about today is the importance of relying on processes, not people. And this has come up because it's always been a thing that I've said that I do. If you had to say what do I do or how do I help people with private practice, it is by putting in systems and processes basically into your practice. And the reason that's important is because we've just recently had a situation where we ran out of something. We ran out of the Clinell wipes. Well, we thought we did, but we hadn't. But anyway, that's not the point. Let's just say we did. And the instant thing when something like that happens is to blame someone, and we're very bad at that in the health service. It's kind of like a blame culture, and you always feel like it's your fault, or you're always kind of looking for someone to blame when something happens. And what I'm trying to develop in my clinic is having processes around things. So if you have processes around things, like for instance when you run out of things, the initial knee-jerk reaction is to who's supposed to order that stuff and why didn't they order that stuff. Whereas if you've got a process whereby you've thought about how you go about not running out of stuff. So we have it both in clinical and in non-clinical. In non-clinical we have an emergency box. We have a similar sort of thing in the clinical, where you have a place where you basically have a duplicate of everything, so that when you run out of clinical wipes, for instance, you go to the backup box, you take some clinical wipes in there, and then you've got to order some more. So same with tea, coffee, paper, everything in the non-clinical world as well, but it works with sutures and stero strips and dressings. You have a backup of everything. Now you might have some things which are short shelf lives, and so you might not want a backup because you don't use it very often, but then obviously that's discussed and that's put in as part of the process then you need a different process for that. So when you get down to one or two left behind or something, you will order more. But it's all about looking at the process. So when you run out of something, you look at the process. You don't immediately go and blame someone. You look at where did the process fall down. So let's go. Is there some in the emergency box? Yes, no. If there is, then great. With it fallen down the side or something. If there's not, why not? What happened the last time it was used and taken out of the emergency box and it wasn't replenished? And it's about having processes for everything. Because we all rely on good staff. We all rely on our receptionist or our clinic nurse or our clinic manager. We rely on good people, which is great, and I think we should still rely on good people. But if you want to have a business rather than a job, and let's face it, that's what this is all about, you need to have processes, and then you need to have systems that allow people to deliver those processes. So that's what it's about. So you still need good people, don't get me wrong. You need to have good people who are delivering the processes, but they are driven by the process. And there's, as I say, there's systems in place that then tell them how to execute the process. And so when something happens, when something goes wrong, if you like, you can go back to the systems and the processes to see, well, could that have been done better? Where did that fall down? And so first of all, it takes away the blame aspect of it, because at the end of the day, again, when you're running a business, you don't really want to blame anyone. When something bad happens, you want to find out what happened and try and make it right. It's not about blaming someone. That doesn't help you say, well, you should have ordered it, or I'm really sorry, I'll order it next time. No one gets anywhere with that. Makes the person feel bad, and it doesn't help the business at all. So you don't really want to blame anyone. But what it also will do is it will mean that if that person, that great secretary or nurse, goes on holiday, goes off sick, gets pregnant, leaves, let's face it, people may leave, then you're not left high and dry. You're not thinking, well, my God, how do we order anything? How do we do a booking? How do we process a payment? How do we do these things? Because they always did it, and they're brilliant. They're really good, and they're, you should have a process for how you process a payment, for how you do a booking. These should all be in a process. And yes, that person normally does it, but if they're not there, then someone else can do it. And if you did want to scale, and you may not want to scale, but if you did want to scale your business up and get other people in and get more staff, it's a hell of a lot easier if you've got processes in place and systems in place rather than just saying, oh, you know, Sandra's a really good secretary and she runs the place and she's great, runs the teacher type ship and she looks after everything. You know, that's great for, you know, for a small practice where Sandra never goes on holiday and never leaves, but it's not good for most of us where people might go on holiday, people might leave, and as I say, you might want to scale it up, and so it's an absolute win-win. You must have processes in your practice. You must develop those processes and still have good people who will then deliver those processes. So it's all about making sure you've got good processes, not people. No, you have to have good people as well. You rely on the processes, not people. You have good processes and people, but you rely on the process, not the people. Your practice should be good because of the processes, not the people. The people are just delivering the process. And yes, that's what the patient sees, but what they don't see is the reason you're getting good at such a good, consistent service is because there's a process underlying it, which is allowing those people to give that consistent service. And that is how you make your practice more like a business. Processes, not people. See you next week.